our daughter and my little sister and my grandson's father and also my cousin, they all passed away from fentanyl. So I don't know if all of them were overdoses or poisons. It don't matter really, it's all murder to me. I remember the day she was born. That's all I got. I can't say no more. That's why I brought you here. I remember her holding my hand, my finger. I ain't gonna be able to do this.
It's okay.
I can't. You can. You can tell it. I'll sit here with you. Fucking pisses me off so bad. I remember her being born and her grabbing my pinky finger with her hand, and I was like, I knew I was the dad then, and I thought I would protect her for the rest of her life. I ain't gonna be able to do it.
You're doing good.
She was always a handful. She got to a point to, I don't know, she had bad influences, I guess what it was. She grew up around junkies and grew up with bad people in her family and dope heads and dope dealers and everything. So, I mean, she kind of didn't have a chance from the beginning.
It's okay. So with her drug addiction,
It started with Monica, my sister, giving her the pill.
and then it turned into meth addiction, and she'd always smoked weed. You know, we would rather her do that than anything else. Safer in our heads, you know, whatever. But so she was hanging out with some people, I guess, and we're not exactly sure what exactly was done, but the toxicology report shows that she had meth and fentanyl in her system at the time of death. She had overdosed the night before, so on the 16th, and had been Narcaned. And I think she may have still been in an active overdose situation, but I don't know because I wasn't there. And then she went to her uncle's house, and her uncle is the one who Narcaned her the night before. And she was over there, and her cousin's girlfriend and her cousin and her and everybody's hanging out. And then her cousin's girlfriend, Ivory, was like, hey, Kaylee's been in the bathroom for a minute. I'm going to go check on her. And she went in there and...
She wasn't responsive.
Yeah. And so she was gone. And they called the ambulance. They got a hold of... I guess they took her, rushed her to KU, and then that's when we found out. But the police, it didn't feel like they were investigating anything, even though we didn't even know it was under investigation until the nurses came in and told us at the hospital. And then we're like, what do you mean it's under investigation? What's going on? Well, because it's fentanyl related, it's under investigation. Nobody was investigating because nobody asked us anything, and we're parents, you know, no one talked to us. And so the newspaper reached out. A friend of ours had told the newspaper about our story, and they reached out, wanted to do an interview with us, the Kansas City Star. And Max just went in on the police, like, hey, if they're investigating my daughter, then the first place to start would be with her dad, to find out what's
Yeah.
going on. And so then we get a call from the reporter saying that after it was aired, while she was doing her, her research and things like that, they said that she's under active investigation, a very active investigation now, and that she gives us the name of the detectives and the phone number and told us to call. Well, we called and tried to reach out to them, and they're busy. They didn't call back, so I called again. And then I was like, I need to get a hold of someone ASAP. What's going on? We want to know. And then so we talked to the detective. They said that they knew who sold it to her, and even though they weren't able to get her phone, they were able to log into her Facebook through someone else's, and they figured out exactly where it came from. And now this guy is in hiding, but we know who he is. And it's just a matter of time, we hope, because the U.S. Marshals are looking for him. And we can't wait until they catch him. They're going to charge him with distribution that resulted in death.
Second-degree murder is what it equals to.
And
hopefully he'll get enough time. Yeah, he won't get enough time unless... I'll be waiting for him when he gets out. She's like 13 when she started doing bad things like drugs and stuff. And my little sister, she started her on pills the first time. And then started her on the meth and everything. She's dead. She was dead already by the time Kaylee died, but I still kind of blame a lot on her. I mean, I love them all, but if she wouldn't have got high with my daughter, she probably wouldn't have got into it as deep. I would never do that to her kids.
I met Kaylee when she was 9. She was full of life and always happy. She had a lot of sass. And, here I come in the picture and she's like, you're not taking my daddy from me. But she immediately loved me, and me and her have a bond like if I gave birth to her. She'd do anything to make her little brothers, happy. And then she got a little older, and she was about to be 14, and Monica gave her a pill to try, told her to snort it, told us that she told Kaylee, she told us that it was an Advil, and she just wanted to see if she would do it.
It was a lie.
It was a Xanax. And her mom called us and said she needs to come out there with you. This is not good. You got to straighten her out. And so she came and she stayed with us, and she went to school and she started volunteering. Her and Billy did at a adult day care facility for elderly people. And she was doing really good in school. And, she got real involved in church with us at Grace Baptist in Chillicothe is where she came to live with us. And her and her big brother, Billy, they're only a month apart, but that's Big Bubba. And they made a lot of their decisions together. And so Kaylee and Billy and Becca decided to be saved and baptized, and they wanted to do it on the same day. She got really, really involved in church with me and made a lot of really close friends at the church that she would go and help the elderly lady there, Miss Marge, and she'd pick up all the pecans out of her yard and try to help her keep her house up. And then she loved to do Bible study with Beth and Brian and things like that. Then she went back to stay with her mom. And then
That was it.
when she wanted to be good, she would come home to us, you know, when she'd try to get things. And so then we started noticing like a pattern, and we thought, well, maybe it's something mental health. You know, maybe we need to check into this. And so she's 21 now, and she's like, maybe you're right, Mom. Let's go to Vallejo. You know, she was all about trying to get help. And she talked to them about her mental health, and they diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder. And that made a lot of sense after we did some research because, you know, she also had paranoia and bipolar disorder, but the borderline personality disorder, it's from childhood trauma. And it made a lot of sense to me because she overly loved the people that she didn't think felt love. And so she felt like she had to fix the world. And that's what...
She was way too nice to people who wasn't nice to her back, too.
Yeah, and
That used to make me so mad.
And the addicts, the friends that were in active addiction fed off of that, and they really drew her in because when she was around, they felt the love that they were missing, and they fed off of it, and they also used it to their advantage. And she was very naive and thought that they really, really loved her and that she had to look out for all of them. Kaylee started her medicine, and she was back. She was that big ball of fiery, spunky sunshine that she used to be. And then she was fixed, you know, we thought she was fixed. And I remember before all this, she's 16 and she's sitting there. Billy just got his license and came back bragging to her about, you know, making his first grown-up decision about he gets to be an organ donor. And so Kaylee's like, what does that even mean? And he explains it to her, and she's like, yes, I'm gonna live forever. And I'm doing that, I'm totally doing that. And so then she signed up to be an organ donor, you know. Well, here we are, her 21st birthday, and she's taking her medicine, you know, and everything's going good. And then someone misses her, and she's gone again. And not on her medicine. She really thought she was going to do good, and because she felt good, she felt like herself. And I was like, please don't stop taking your medicine. If you go, please don't stop taking it. I won't, Mom, everything's going to be fine. And it wasn't. She fell back into that crowd. She had a few overdose situations. And then on the 17th of August, on the 17th of August, we got a call at 1 a.m. And it was Misty, her mom. And she was saying, guys gotta get up here to the hospital. I don't know how bad it is, but Kaylee overdosed. And she does this a lot, so it was probably not that bad, but, you know, she's got a ventilator on her, and I immediately know it's not good. I told Max, we gotta go. We gotta get to KU ASAP. And so, you know, we're in denial, and we're like, oh, she's gonna be all right. You know, she's done this before, but just to be safe, you know, Misty's never let us know when any of that's happened, because she wanted to be there for her. And so for her to call, I thought, this is a big deal. And once she said ventilator, it's time to go. It's 1 a.m, the kids got school the next day, and so we have to make arrangements. So I call Misty back, and I'm like, how are things going? She said everything's still the same. They're getting ready to put us in intensive care. I'll let you know what room. And I said, okay, we've made arrangements. My sister's loading her kids up right now to come over to the house to watch ours. And then we'll be there. We got to stop and get gas, and we'll be there. I don't know what time we got there, 3 or 4 in the morning. And then when we walked in, that was your worst fear. There's nothing you can do to fix it. Watching her lay there, so we were her voice and protectors at that moment. And
Yeah, because as soon as I got there, her mom burned out.
she didn't
Left me there to make all the decisions and stuff.
And then
She come back by once
yeah.
to pick her laptop up, I think. Maybe another time whenever they had to not pull the plug, but talk to us about it, and I wasn't going for it.
Yeah, they kept coming in and out of the room and saying things that we didn't understand and we didn't want to understand. We didn't care to hear what they had to say because,
If I could have stayed like that forever, even right now,
we would have brought her home on all the machines that they would have let us. But they kept wanting to do all these tests, and they're like, she's not. They came in every day testing.
Trying to kill her, basically. A test to see if she'll die or stay alive. And I was like, and I wouldn't let them take it.
It was an apnea test.
And then they kept trying to send rude doctors in there. I snapped out a couple times on them and told them not to come back in my room. I kicked a few doctors out and said they're not my daughter's doctors no more.
And we sat in there with her. We never left the hospital.
She died in the same hospital she was born in.
And we stayed there from the 17th to the 25th when she passed away. Finally, they come in and they do neurology tests and MRIs, and we kept telling them, you got to do another MRI. You got to find some, if we can find one glimmer of hope, we got to find it. She's got to be in there. We got to see, you got to look as hard as you can. You got to find something. And they kept doing that, and they couldn't find anything. Then that apnea test, they started really pushing. They pushed the wrong way. Some doctors just don't have a good bedside manner because it's easier to deal with it as a matter-of-fact situation than a let's have hope and faith situation. And then so we involved palliative care to come in and advocate for us. And they came in and they then became our advocates and
doctors to talk to us. They're supposed to do it more
gentle,
on a religious way almost.
And they would come in and talk to us about what was going on, what did we feel needed to be done. They wouldn't let them pressure us. They were there for us to help make decisions that we weren't making and we weren't gonna make. The whole time we were at the hospital, her friends in active addiction kept trying to come up, and Max bulldogged that door, and he's like, absolutely not. You had your time with her. Look at what you did with it. You took her from us. If you come up here again, you're going to get beat up. It's that simple. Or I'll send you to jail. You're not. Yeah. He said, you're not welcome here. And so the nurses, they stood their ground and made sure. But then we had
her mom trying to get them up there and sneak them up there. Yeah.
To bring them in to see Kaylee,
Yeah,
hooked up to
because she's
machines.
friends with all of her junkie butt friends. They're her best friends too.
And so
Because they're still good people in her eyes. I mean, yeah, they're not. I guess they're not bad people, but they can be not bad people away from me, is the way I feel.
especially in that moment, especially with our daughter laying there, knowing that, you know, they played a big part in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
They sure didn't tell her not to.
no, they didn't. And then on the 25th was the day that we were supposed to do the apnea test. Max thought about it and he's like, okay, well, we'll try it. If you do another MRI, I want you to make sure there's no brain spark in there or anything before I can even make this decision. And then
I didn't.
he didn't want to have to say, you know, like,
Yeah,
to do it.
I didn't.
No. And then Kaylee,
Stopped being able to breathe on or at all even with help. It started messing her up. Her lungs started messing up real bad. So
she took the decision from her dad. She knew he was never going to get there.
yeah, I was there 11 days. I would have waited a lot longer. I was ready to fight the doctors and like literally put hands on them. I wasn't gonna play around. I was plotting bad stuff.
Yeah, because that's his oldest and his first, you know.
I'll do that. I would for any of them. It don't matter what order they came in. I feel that way.
And then,
I still feel like I didn't do the right thing.
but she took that decision, and it's hard for him to understand that she took that into her own hands, you know, and her lungs gave out. But he wanted to make sure that she could donate her organs because that was something she chose to do. And so
Wrap them.
they came in, Midwest Transplant came in, they were amazing, you know, very helpful and talking to us and trying to make the best out of a really shitty situation. And
I wasn't letting anybody make the best out of anything.
no, but how can you know?
I wasn't I hate it when people try to sugarcoat it because it ain't that's making me like they're overlooking the real reality. You know what I mean? Like they're making it like it's not really that important. You know? Like my daughter's life didn't matter. Trying to make it not as hard. Well, guess what? That made it harder on me.
And then, so they came in and, well, after she's already gone, she's still hooked up to these machines. And it doesn't look like she's gone. Because the machines are now, her heartbeat is so strong because her heart wasn't affected. And her lungs, they got her lungs stable again, but they weren't going to hold up much longer. And so it was like a rush to find people.
I don't.
My little sister needed a kidney,
But
and she wasn't on the list.
Yeah, that was my idea. But her sister ain't even on the list still. I don't know.
So, we couldn't give her the kidney. His aunt is on a list, but she couldn't get the kidneys, so they found recipients for 5 of her organs. And so for 3 days more, she was in the hospital. And we came in there because how do you leave her, you know? And they wanted it to look they wanted it to be easier on us.
It did not make it easier. It made it harder.
But they had to flip her over on her stomach because she had been on her back for so long and she got pneumonia in her lungs and they needed to try to work that out. And when we came in, you know, I had been brushing her hair, washing her hair, giving her baths every day. Never leaving her side, either one of us. We didn't leave that hospital at all. My sister took care of our kids for that whole time we were gone.
The longest we've been away from our kids ever.
We've never even left them overnight, you know, at that point. And
we definitely don't now.
No.
I don't let my kids leave my sight.
And so when we came in, they had her on her stomach and they had a little stuffed animal in her hand. And it just looked like she was sleeping. And so we had to leave. Like that. We couldn't keep playing this mind trick on ourselves. Like it was really hard. Organ donation is a beautiful thing, but it also messes with your brain too, But so then, here we go planning Kaylee's funeral, and we find all these videos of her dancing with her little sisters and singing Jelly Rolls, Somebody Save Me, and you gotta pick songs. And so her dad made the playlist and played a lot of songs that, reminded him of her. So her funeral was supposed to be the last good thing that we can do for her.
They made it a shit show. Her other side of her family, they fought and we all argued and they got into a fist fight outside. Yeah, it was horrible.
It was bad. We did at the hospital with Kaylee. I'm a big crafter. And so I'm like, all right, sister, we got to have one last craft sesh because, she loved to craft with me. And so Mindy, she's more of a sister. She went on a mad search to find the perfect ink that would be permanent. And so we put her hand in this ink pad and put it on Max's
hat. On this hat that I got from her when she left, I kept it when she left one time because I was mad at her.
So he stole her hat?
So I stole her hat. I collect hats. Yeah.
And then, it's permanent ink, right? So now her hand's permanently blackish purple, and I couldn't get it off and we're trying so hard to clean it. And I lift her hand, and her hand hits her forehead. Well, now there's black on her forehead. And I'm like, oh, she's loving this. She is loving this. And so we clean it off as best as we could. The nurses helped. Mindy helped. Her grandma and grandpa were up there with us every day, too. And they tried to help me clean it because I'm like, oh, my God, I broke my baby. How do I fix this? But, so she had, we made a ton of handprints and thumbprints, and we had our last little craft session together. But that's our Kaylee story.
I always think about the day that she was born, holding my finger, and then the day that she died in the same hospital.
So Kaylee and David, who is our son-in-law, he was 16 years old, and he was very close to Kaylee because Becca and Kaylee are like besties. That's sisters, and they're a year apart. And so David was always around them too. And
I grew up with David's parents, both of them.
Yeah.
But David was more like a son to me towards the end.
Yeah, we find out that he's got our daughter pregnant, and we're like, holy cow, we can't believe this is happening right now. And so we moved to Topeka. Becca's about to have a baby.
We let them basically move in with us.
Yeah, and we took David under our wing like our own kid, and wanted him to know love and compassion.
He didn't have a chance in hell neither.
No, he didn't.
Both of his sides of his family are way worse than ours even. Both sides are either at junkie alcoholics or
drugs. Yeah, and then so they came out to live with us for a little bit. They would go back and forth to his uncle's house and back out here with the baby. And then they would start leaving the baby with us, which was totally fine with us because, he's a baby. He's our first grandson, and we want him.
Yeah.
as long as possible. Leave him for days if you want. We don't care. And then June 22nd, they went down to the city. His mom had got out of jail, and she was doing good, and he wanted to go see her. Ace had COVID, and so that's the baby. And so they left the baby with us, and he went down to see his mom. We had gotten him and Becca into an apartment out here, helped them get into a car. You know, they were doing really good and living the dream for them, you know. And then they went into the city, and I guess if you don't got your kid, you can party, right? You know, your kid's well taken care of. You can do what you want. And he's 16, and Becca's 20.
Becca was older than him, put it that way. She was 19.
19, and so they're young kids, and they're, you know, hanging out with everybody. And we get a call on July 3rd from Becca. You know, they called and checked in, letting us know, you know, everything's okay. David wanted to come home for the 4th of July and spend it out here with, you know, his new brothers, Billy and Nick. And they would sit out there. David would sit outside with Nicholas for hours playing basketball at like 1 in the
Yeah, he was
morning.
close to Nicholas's age, her little brother.
Yeah, and they would sit out there and play basketball.
They became best friends.
Yeah, very close. And you know, they were just learning. They didn't know how to be parents yet, and they were just learning, and they were doing pretty good. And when they went into town, Ace was sick. He stayed with us. So July 3rd, Becca calls, Mom, David's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean David's gone? Where'd he go? And she's like, no, Mom, he's gone. And I said, yeah, Becca, where? What happened? Did you guys get in a fight or something? And she just starts screaming that
He's dead.
he's dead. He's dead, Mom, he's dead. And I'm like, what? How did that happen? At 16, you know, I'm thinking, holy crap, did somebody accidentally shoot him or, you know, something like that.
Because that's what happens down in the neighborhood that we grew up in.
Yeah.
Kids kill each other and stuff, shoot each other. It's normal.
It's not normal, but
that's normal there, though, I'm saying.
Yeah. And then, so I leave Ace with Max, and me and my sister fly, you know, down. We don't
Not
fly.
really fly, but
We drove
drive.
very fast all the way, hour away over to the apartments where he was. In the meantime, we're texting my sister, Chrissy, who passed away. We're texting her best friend because she's there. And I'm like, please don't leave my daughter in that situation by herself. Please stay with her. And she's like, okay. And she's giving me updates. And I get over there, and the police are there. And they won't let me go in. But Becca's standing outside crying. I've never heard her cry like that. It broke my heart, and I didn't know how do I fix this for her. And she's screaming, Mom, and she's hugging his shoe because it's all she has. She's like, Mom, I don't know what to do. I hate everything. I hate my life. I should have saved him. I could have saved him. And I'm like, what? What happened? Because I still don't know. And at first they told us he had a seizure, you know, because he did have seizures. And I'm thinking, holy crap, he had a seizure and didn't wake up? Like, is this hereditary? Is this going to pass down to the baby? What do we do? Well, no. Turns out that he had taken fake perks, and it had fentanyl in it. And I guess she woke up and he was gone. And he was
laying next to her.
And there was vomit everywhere in the floor, she said. And he was laying there, and she didn't know what to do. I don't know that anybody called the police immediately because I wasn't there. You know, I don't really know. But then whenever we're outside. One of David's grandmas was there, and she came up to me and she said, "You gotta protect your daughter and that baby at all costs because David loved them more than his next breath." And I said, "I will. We will," and then they pull out this stretcher with covered up, and David's laying on it. This kid that has become our child now, someone we love, who was with us every day, drinking up all my coffee, hanging out with my son and playing.
Following me around like a dang puppy dog.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm doing, I look over and he's just sitting there staring at me like, because he didn't really have a good, he didn't know what a real good childhood was or nothing like that. And he seen us giving our kids it, and
he wanted
really
to
liked
give that to his kid, and he wanted that.
Yeah. He was still growing up, so he wanted it for him, and he wanted it for his son,
And so they bring him out, and that moment was like, I don't even know how to explain seeing somebody who is 16 on a stretcher, knowing that they had their whole life ahead of them, and it's all been taken away because of one mistake. They made a mistake, and that mistake now will live with your child for the rest of your life, or the rest of their life. And so with that, losing David, we also, Monica passed away after that.
Right after that,
Yeah.
maybe a couple months later, my sister passed away. She got...
In September.
Yeah. She took a Xanax or something. I don't know what she was taking. I don't remember.
Yeah.
That had fentanyl in it.
And
everybody left her in a room, or there was a whole house full of people could have saved her, and they all burned out on her, I found out.
And
Cops can't prove it. No one can prove it yet, but they're working on it, and I'm hoping they can soon.
And they had one person stood up and was like, "You can't just leave her like that." Went outside and called 911 and left because they were afraid they were going to go to jail, because that's what happens. If you're in active addiction, you're scared to death of the police. You're scared to death of going to jail. And so that person called 911 and said, "You need to get here," gave them the address. "She's in their overdose. Nobody's calling you," and they left. Monica was the fun aunt, the fun sister, she's Max's only sister, baby sister.
I was close to her all her life. Out of my two siblings, I would think I was closer to her. And then that's why it really hurt me when she did what she did, and I quit talking to her.
With Kaylee.
Kaylee, whenever she gave my daughter drugs like that.
Monica's house, she would volunteer to take all the kids so the parents could have a day away. Because she's fun, right? She's high, so she's super fun. Bouncing around, playing with the kids, doing all the stuff that they want to do. And, then all of a sudden, we can't leave our kids there. We never left our kids there. We never left our kids there, but, when we were there, she was amazing with them. She loved them with her whole heart, and she loved her brother more than she loved anything in the world. Max was on this pedestal that no one could knock him down, and that's why it hurt so bad that she introduced something really bad to them that ultimately took our daughter's life.
But she passed before Kaylee did.
Yeah, so it was, and then Cassie, his cousin Cassie, we're not real sure.
I do. I found out a Xanax for sure.
So she took a Xanax, and then she went to sleep and didn't wake up. We don't know too much about her story, but then...
My uncle's going to come and tell that more.
Yeah, and then that was in 2021.
Yeah, I think so.
And she was 29. And then here you go, 2022 in July. And our 16-year-old son-in-law passed away from fentanyl. And then the same year, months later, on September 11th, Monica passed away from fentanyl. And then
Almost a whole year later.
Kaylee passed away in August 2023. We're not going to lose anybody else. We can't.
I'm worried about it.
What do you do? Who do you become for the other kids if you do lose someone else?
Because it's taken a lot from us already. I don't know if I have any left.
Yeah. And so we
have a daughter in active recovery right now. Like, she's just recovering.
13 days sober from fentanyl.
She's 21, the one that we've been raising her son.
She's our selfish reason for what we do. We wanted her to see. We've gotten involved with harm reduction and with bringing awareness and education to the dangers of illicit fentanyl. And, a lot of people don't think it can happen to them. We didn't either. There's always been drug use. There's always been pill addictions, but...
Yeah. They're dropping like flies now, though.
We had no clue whenever we heard fentanyl or Percocets and things like that. We didn't. Well, the only fentanyl we knew about was from...
medical.
Yeah.
From the hospital.
Terminally ill people. And then all of a sudden, all these people, how do they have access to it? Like, how in the world do you know that many sick people willing to get rid of their medicine? And then we find out that it's not even real fentanyl. And
it's illicit.
Yeah, and then here they all are dropping like flies, literally. And it's attacking our youth. And so a friend of ours, Shannon, invited us, and her mom, Lily, who is my mom's best friend, one of my mom's very close friends, invites us to a rally in Leavenworth. And we go 2 weeks out from Kaylee's death, and it was so hard. But in that moment, Lily called me. She's my mom's friend. I call her Aunt Lily. And I said, I don't know if this is something I can do. No, this is something I even want to do. And she said, well, I hate to tell it to you, but you come from a long line of very strong women, and this is how you're going to save the rest of your kids. And you got to fight. And now you're a soldier in this stupid fentanyl army, and you're one of the members of the saddest clubs in the world. Because we've all lost somebody now. And you just got to make a difference. You got to. It's going to help you get out of bed, Amber. And so I'm like, what are we going to do? What's the first thing I could do? Let's have a rally. Let's have a rally. We got to, because you don't know and you don't think it can happen to you until it does. And then when it happens to you, it smacks into you like you got hit by a diesel, and it's a blow to the gut. No matter how you've raised your kid or how you've taught them right from wrong, the truth of the matter is they're going to try things. We tried things. Everybody tries something. But it's not even safe to do that anymore. It was never smart to do it, but it's not even safe to do it now. And I think that with that, we did some scrolling on TikTok. I was bored and I found Steve Norris with the Alliance of Coalition, and he donated a Save a Life station to us in Kaylee's name. And that has like Naloxone and test strips and harm reduction tools for us to place here in Kansas. It's the very first one in Kansas. And then he hooks me up with Greg Swan, who is with Fentanyl Fathers. And Greg hooks us up with Glenn with Texas Pictures. And it's been a wild ride.